So, if someone gave you their telephone number right now without you writing it down, do you think you'll be able to remember it by tomorrow? What if someone told you, don't forget your doctor's appointment on Thursday at 2 p.m. and so's appointment on Wednesday at 5 p.m.? Would that information actually stick? Forgetting new information doesn't necessarily mean that something is seriously wrong. Sometimes the brain simply needs support in how information is stored. And today, I'm going to discuss 5 memory strategies that I actually teach my patients to help them remember new information. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Danetta Davis. I am a medical speech language pathologist, and here on this channel, I create videos regarding communication and swallowing disorders that arise from conditions like Parkinson's disease and stroke. If you find value in this video, please consider subscribing. Let's move on and talk about these 5 strategies. And mind you, none of them are in any particular order. Strategy number 1 is repetition. This sounds incredibly simple, but there's actually real science behind why it works. Now, repetition works because it fundamentally alters the brain's physical structure and chemical efficiency through something known as neuroplasticity. This turns short-term memories into long-term ones by strengthening the neural connections. Association means connecting new information to something you already know. And this strategy works because the brain naturally prefers information that has meaning or familiarity that's attached to it. So instead of storing something completely new by itself, the brain would actually link it to an existing memory. And this process is supported by how memory networks function in the brain. So the hippocampus, which plays an important role in learning and memory, tends to organize information through relationships and connections. So the stronger the connection between old and new information, the easier it is to retrieve it later. And this is sometimes referred to as associative learning. On a day-to-day basis, association can be useful when trying to remember someone's name or important details. So for example, let's say you meet someone named Rose. Instead of hearing the name once and hoping that you're going to remember it later, you might mentally picture them holding a bouquet of roses or standing in a garden full of flowers. By linking the new information to something familiar, the brain now has an extra pathway to retrieve it later on. Another strategy is anchoring. Now, anchoring itself is when you attach new information to something that is already part of your daily routine. So, from a neuroscience standpoint, routines reduce the amount of mental effort that's required to remember something. Over time, repeated behaviors become more automatic because they rely less on conscious effort and more on established neural pathways. This process is often supported by procedural memory systems in the brain, which ultimately help us perform habitual tasks with less mental energy. So for example, if someone keeps forgetting to take their medication, instead of the person trying to remember it randomly throughout the day, they may anchor it to breakfast time. So now the thought process becomes, when I sit down to eat breakfast, I take my medication. Or maybe someone wants to remember to complete speech exercises. So they decide to do them immediately after brushing their teeth. So the routine itself becomes the reminder. Another strategy is spaced retrieval. And spaced retrieval is a memory technique where information is practiced over gradually increasing periods of time rather than just repeating it over and over back to back. And this one is actually an effective evidence-based memory intervention strategy for individuals with dementia. The reason spaced retrieval works has to do with something called the spacing effect. And this is a well-established concept in cognitive psychology. Research has shown that information tends to be remembered better when learning is spread out over time rather than crammed all at once. And it also strengthens retrieval pathways, meaning that the brain becomes more efficient at pulling information back up when it's needed. Now, on a day-to-day basis, this can be helpful when trying to remember important information like an address, or a room number, or an appointment time, or even someone's name. So for example, instead of repeating a doctor's appointment 10 times in a row, you might try recalling it after 1 minute, then after 5 minutes, then after 10 minutes, and later on in the afternoon. By spacing out the recall, you're gradually teaching your brain to hold on to the information a teeny bit longer. Thank you so much for being here. Check out these other 2 videos if you enjoyed this one. Again, my name is Danetta Davis. I am a medical speech language pathologist. And if you enjoyed this video, go ahead and subscribe for more insightful videos just like this one. I'll talk to you soon.